Club each Thursday at noon. As many of you know, the snack is different than our Tuesday program, as there is a little less to it. You will find it to be less formal than our Tuesday programs. We have no pledge, invocation, or club business. It will last about 30 minutes, and of course, you can still count on high quality programming and content. Typically, we will feature a member of Rotary or a Rotary connected organization with ideas pertinent to how we are living today. Today, we will hear from Brent Hazelton and Sherry Williams panel about the inaugural Milwaukee Black Theater Festival, which just goes to show you that even in the middle of a pandemic, creative people are continuing to create. Next week, please tune in at noon on Thursday to hear an update from our COVID expert, Dr. Bob Gleason, talking about what's currently known about COVID-19. Please submit your questions via the chat button of the screen, and I'll keep an eye out for them and share them with the speakers once the planned remarks are complete. As I mentioned, this is intended to last about 30 minutes, but sometimes the audience has more questions than we can fit into that time frame. At about 12:30, we will close the regular meeting, but feel free to stay and continue the conversation afterwards. So now it's my pleasure to introduce Brent and Sherry. Brent succeeds Michael Wright as Milwaukee Chamber Theater's artistic director after 20 seasons at the Milwaukee Rep, including the final 10 as the associate artistic director, where he spearheaded the season planning process, collaborated on short and long-term strategic planning, and participated in programming, staffing, and supporting productions. Brent is interested in exploring how a regional theater can speak directly to the experience of its community and how it can include everyone who chooses to call it home in that conversation. Sherry Williams Pennell is a native Milwaukeean and has performed, directed, or written for a number of Milwaukee's theater and arts entities, including Bronzeville Arts Ensemble, First Stage, Florentine Opera, Milwaukee Chamber Theater, Milwaukee Fringe Festival, Milwaukee Rep, Milwaukee Symphony Orchestra, Milwaukee Art Museum, Renaissance Theater Works, and Skylight Music Theater. A founding member and artistic director at Bronzeville Arts Ensemble, Sherry is also director and teaching artist at Black Arts Milwaukee and co-director of the drama ministry at Calvary Baptist Church. What does she do in her free time? I don't think she has any. Her 2021 theater season directing projects include Tour of the Bronzeville Bohème for the Florentine Opera, All Night Strut for the Peck School of the Arts, and Black Nativity for Black Arts MKE, and Marcus Center for Black Arts MKE and the Marcus Center for the Performing Arts. She is a graduate of Spelman College and holds an MFA from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. So Brent and Sherry, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, thank you, Christine. Good afternoon, everybody. I can attest to the fact that in her free time, Sherry does things like start theater festivals because she doesn't have enough to do in her life. As Christine said, my name is Brent Hazelton. I'm the artistic director of Milwaukee Chamber Theater, have been the artistic director for 43 days now at the start of our fiscal year as of July 1st, and then spent last season transitioning in while Michael was transitioning out. So the Milwaukee Black Theater Festival is a collaborative endeavor between Milwaukee Chamber Theater, Black Arts MKE, Bronzeville Arts Ensemble, Lights Camera Soul, and Empower Theater Group. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the institutional side of that partnership, and then Sherry will fill you all in on the artistic content. So it's from the institutional perspective, definitely a non-traditional pattern that we've built here. Very rarely in Milwaukee do theater companies collaborate. Very rarely do 5 theater companies collaborate. Certainly not on something of this magnitude. So it's been really fun to break new ground that way and just figure out what those institutional relationships are. Milwaukee Chamber Theater is the producing entity of the festival. So we, one of the the sort of inspirations for it was knowing that the first show that we had programmed to produce at the top of this season, a 12-person musical called Passing Strange, couldn't do. Would have been the most expensive show in Chambers history by nearly double the biggest play we've ever done, and also featured an all African-American cast, focusing on themes of identity, not only of the individual, but also of the African-American middle class. And we had programmed that about 9 months ago. Fast forward to May, when we have all sorts of larger national conversations now inside the pandemic about racial justice, and having this producing structure of Milwaukee Chamber Theater sort of sitting idle, because with the pandemic we're not able to do anything, but still having the inspiration to have that conversation that Passing Strange would have had, right, which has been augmented by all the conversations around the deaths of so many Black individuals in such close succession this spring. Got together with Malkia Stampley, DeMonte Henning, the other part of the festival leadership team, and came up with this notion of creating a festival. Milwaukee theater needs to respond, needs to participate in this conversation somehow that we're having locally. Quickly pulled Sherry into that conversation. Sherry quickly pulled Black Arts MKE into that conversation, and people just sort of came on board, which was wonderful. But the more non-traditional aspect of this at its center is, even though Chamber is the producing entity, all the work has been curated by Black artists and Black arts adjacent leaders, which is very, very uncommon in the way traditional regional theater is programmed. So that also feels like a very affirmative step forward and experiment to see how we can include more voices and to begin to desegregate Milwaukee's theater companies as we're continuing to do that work in the rest of the city. And the process has been successful and rewarding. We have a group of about a dozen individuals who have composed the larger festival leadership steering committee. Again, drawn from those 4 other Black companies, as well as a lot of other Black independent artists and Black arts adjacent leaders, focusing on curating not only the 3 plays that are at the center of the festival, but also all of the supplemental material around those plays, which Sherry will talk about in more detail. But we're trying to, in a festival that has to be all virtual, to create as robust a conversation as we possibly can, not only to replicate something that you would have as an experience in the theater, right, with talkbacks, with pre-show conversations, with other inspired content, some short plays, some original music, but also to make sure that we are widening that conversation as much as we possibly can among different groups of audience members. So the audience outreach has also been just as robust as has the creative process, which is also really, really exciting. And the opportunity to come and tell the story about this first of its kind thing to groups like Rotary is always really, really, really valuable. The object is that this will become a long-term thing. We're calling this the first annual, very specifically because we are hoping that this does become an ongoing annual event that eventually all of the theaters in Milwaukee will be participating in. Given that the theater season in Milwaukee is usually Labor Day to Memorial Day, doing it in August can serve as the kickoff to the theater season in a really celebratory way. And as more of our local companies meet standards for inclusion of Black individuals in leadership positions, Black artists throughout their whole season, more of those companies then will come on and participate in the festival as partners, which is a super exciting prospect to entertain. So Sherry, do you want to talk about content a little bit, the 3 central plays and some of the other stuff?
I'd be pleased to share the wonderful work that's being produced for the Milwaukee Black Theater Festival. The 3 plays that were chosen by the committee are Kill Move Paradise by James L. James, Stew by Zora Howard, and Home by Sam Art Williams. It's wonderful to be able to produce plays, I'm going to say, that represent the generations of storytelling in the African-American canon of plays. we have I think the oldest of the plays presented, Home by Sam Art Williams, has become a favorite amongst the Black theater companies. It's one that explores the idea of what happens when you have a conscientious objector to war and the experience of the central character, and how this person is, their journey and how they're received upon the choice that they have made and how the community receives them. So it's set over, it's a memory play set over several decades in the person's life. And it also is a play that has, though, a lot of joy, a lot of I'll say, experiencing also the culture, looking at the culture through the decades of the American culture, our society. Then there is Stew by Zora Howard, which I think may be the newest of the plays. It's one set around, if you want to say, kitchen tables, what happens when generations of family members come together, women come together to share their stories and to ask questions, and I'll just say to work out things as they prepare a meal. Therefore the name Stew. And you think about different cultures and the way that we gather around cooking and sharing, women coming together. So this, again, is the story that anyone would be able to relate to. And then Kill, Move, Paradise, which is, I'm going to say, it's one of those supernatural pieces, entering the afterlife and trying to make sense of what happened and why and how. And it's I'll say a play that is very much of the moment because of what is happening within our society with the deaths of young Black men and women in, I'll just say, very challenging moments in society. I don't want to give a lot of it away, so that's, you see me trying to carefully choose my words. But also with each of these plays is how we at the Milwaukee Black Film Theater Festival have decided to respond to the stories that are being told, having those post-show events, some in the form of music that's a response to the story that's been told. Sometimes it's poetry. Sometimes it's a reflective moment from a person who has had a similar experience. And each one of these is being expressed either through a local performing artist who is a poet, who is a musician, a composer, or is a member of a theater company who has some personal experience with the event and the story that's being told. So, but in addition, we have to hear from the youngest members of our community. And that comes in the form of the music and art that has been produced with Black Arts MKE with the summer program, which young people from the ages of 13 through 17 participated in and created their own work that is an expression of what they are feeling and using the arts to express their happiness, their challenges about being a young person living in the world of COVID-19 and also with Black Lives Matter. And then there is the expression from the young people at First Stage who are also using monologues, music, dance to express their creativity and their feelings, their response to what we are going through right now in our society. And opening our theater festival is a concert from Skylight Music Theater. It's from Skylight with Love, and it's a concert for unity. And it features African-American artists who have appeared on the stage in the Cabot at the Broadway Theater Center and have songs that truly express the love they feel for the community, for the culture, for the arts. So the expressions run from spoken word to music, and I'll give it away, a little bit of dance as well. So we're covering the performing arts through the Milwaukee Black Theater Festival and giving our local artists an opportunity to truly express the beauty and creativity of the art form they practice.
Yeah, and it's really the assemblage of talent is incredibly exciting, as Sherry is saying. You know, in addition to real standouts in the acting community, you know, for those of you who've seen theater around town, and certainly you know Sherry, you'll recognize Malkia Stampley, you'll recognize Chike Johnson, DeMonte Henning, Crystal Drake, and the artists as well. You know, Quasi Stampley, who's a super exciting, young, up and coming, kind of multi-instrumentalist. It's really hard to describe, but just an inspired genius of a young artist. An artist named Sean Hinton is giving us a song. Sean lives down in Oak Creek. He was Mary J. Blige's touring guitarist for a couple years, has worked with Jill Scott. Just a monster recording session musician. Is going to contribute something to the festival. Dasha Kelly, who's the poet laureate of the city of Milwaukee right now, is going to create a piece in response to Stu. So it's really, really exciting just to have this collage of sort of monster voices in the Black arts community coming together to, as Sherry says, have a conversation that responds to our moment right now. It's incredibly exciting. We're going to package it all on a webpage, on a dedicated Milwaukee Black Theater Festival page on Milwaukee Chamber Theater's website. Everything will go live on Sunday, August 23rd. Festival closes on the 12th. People can buy festival passes for each one of those 3 weeks. That pass will get you behind the paywall to all the festival content, where you will be able to view it for the duration of the week you've chosen, including the individual readings as well as all the supplemental material. The recordings of the individual play readings themselves will be available for 24 hours, which is a limitation that we have to respect given our licensing houses and licensing partners' requests. But aside from that, everything's available for as many views as you would care to. So we're excited for people to get in there and start experiencing it and start seeing all this intersection of voice. Tickets are very easy to pick up. Just pop over to the Milwaukee Chamber Theater website. It's very step-by-step. Create an account. It'll walk you right through it. And the rental process for the individual videos of the play readings is very similar to an Amazon rental, so that should feel very familiar too. We're still trying to figure out, we're working with our union partners at Actors Equity Association to see if we can actually gather actors in the same space to record these readings, or if we have to be in a Zoom paradigm to do them. Certainly hopeful to get everybody in the same room together, but are also confident that, you know, we've, as theaters, have spent the last 6 months now getting very familiar with Zoom as a producing platform. So if we have to jump over there, feel good about that as well. Saw one question pop up in the chat here. Oh, vision for the festival 5 years from now. Wow, that's big. I don't know, we're thinking much past 5 minutes from now right now as we're sort of in the crunch of rehearsals and things. But no, for me, you know, if we can be in a place where every theater company in the city of Milwaukee is participating, that's a wonderful, wonderful outcome. What that will have meant is that every theater company in the city will have 20% of its board be made up of individuals who identify as Black. It will mean that there is at least one Black creative artist, not an actor, but a director or a designer or a choreographer that has been hired to work on each production in that company's season. And that 20% of the work that company puts on stage will have been created by Black artists. So some certainly aggressive goals, but the point of the festival is not just to put up work, but to put up work that really is helping to address some of the systemic change that we need to happen in this city. What about you, Sherry? What's your 5 years out? What does this thing look like to you?
Well, I have to tell you, I've attended the Milwaukee Black the Atlanta Black Arts Festival. And while I was there, and this was many years ago, but while I was there, there were people from all over the country. It was a destination. I would love to see the Milwaukee Black Theater Festival become a destination, not just for people in the Midwest, but from all across the country. And because I really do, I believe in the theater that we are producing here, the quality of theater, the talent that is here. And I think more people need to become aware of it and enjoy it the way we experience it here in Milwaukee. So I would love to see it become, yes, 5 years from now, and that it draws people from all over the country.
Yeah. And just note from Christine here, you know, Rotary is one of the charter sponsors for this first year of the festival. Certainly incredibly grateful for that support and making a huge, huge difference in order for us to get this thing up and moving forward. And not only, you know, the financial support is certainly welcome, but, you know, being welcomed into your conversation here, being able to spread the word. Hopefully, if those of you listening are so inspired, you'll help us spread the word and continue that on into your own networks. Because certainly the larger conversation we're able to create around this work, the stronger foundation it builds for us to get to that place that Sherry's talking about, where in a very short time we are recognized as a destination. The talent is here, right? And the Milwaukee's performing arts community, whether it's theater, whether it's dance, whether it's music, is really just as segregated as the rest of the city. And if you just sort of move out of your sort of known entertainment network, the talent in this town is unbelievable in all of the different communities. So the more we can bring that out, the more we can surface that, certainly the richer our community becomes and the richer our artistic conversation becomes. But because the arts also always lead social change, it's just the way it is. Again, if we can model this desegregated space by centering voices that don't in our community normally get center stage in the performing arts conversation, we can get to that place even sooner. Question about ticket purchasing here. So yes, the festival is all virtual. So all of the ticketing is also handled all virtually. So if you go to Milwaukee Chamber Theater's website, which is milwaukeechambertheater.com or .org, either will get you there. We spell theater T-R-E. Click on the Milwaukee Black Theater Festival link at the top of the screen, or there should be a little scrolling bar right in the middle of the screen that you see there. You'll be asked to create an MCT account. And then again, much like Amazon, through that account, you can sort of do whatever purchasing you would like to do. So pretty simple. It's all web-based. A festival pass will run you $35. You'll be asked to make an initial payment of $34.97 because to access each of the individual readings, you will have to make another 1 cent rental. Which again is the only way that we could work the platform so that we could honor that 24-hour viewing limitation from our licensing partners. But it should, we just went live for ticket sales on Monday. We've all taken as many trips through the purchasing platform as we can. People are starting to buy tickets now, so the process seems to be pretty smooth and bug-free. But certainly if you run into hitches, don't hesitate to drop us an email or let us know how you feel like the process could be smoother. Yes, absolutely post that. Great. What else? What else would everybody like to know?
Michelle? Is Michelle there? Can
Yes.
you let everybody, we don't have a huge group of people. Why don't we, can we let everybody talk?
Certainly. You are all should be welcome to unmute yourselves at this point. So if you would like to ask a question, please feel free to do so and unmute yourself.
Everybody is so shy.
We've just been so thorough.
Yeah. Well, looking at a shorter term time horizon than Teresa gave you,
Yeah.
what would success in 2020 look like for you?
Well, certainly selling a bunch of tickets and getting a bunch of people to view the festival and participate, right? We're definitely still in the awareness raising phase in the first year. So from sort of an institutional build that foundation for next year perspective, definitely just getting a lot of people to engage with it this year is, that feels like success. We're also, in addition to buying tickets, we've got a great logo for the festival that's been designed by a local designer. You can buy t-shirts, you can buy yourself a hoodie. But yeah, just for me right now, the more awareness we're raising, the better. I don't know, what about you, Sherry? What's a win look like this year?
For me, as one who is still getting technologically on board, if we don't have any glitches, I'll be so happy. No glitches.
Yeah, content delivery is good. But hopefully, if we get everything right, what you should see behind that paywall are these three sort of what we're calling individual modules that are built around the readings of the core plays, and should really just be clickable links. Again, like you're going to a YouTube page, right? All the content will be embedded on the website, so there's no external websites to jump to. So you should just be able to look at a screenshot of something, click on it, and then access that content. It should hopefully be just that easy. We're also, as Sherry alluded to a little bit earlier, there is some content that's outside of the paywall. So the Skylight concert, the Black Arts MKE, Young People's Performance, and then First Stage Children's Theater is also putting together a performance with their young artists. All three of those pieces are going to be outside the paywall. We're going to drop those sequentially at the top of each week. It's sort of like, here's some new content, here's a kickoff to the week, here's a new company we're bringing into the conversation. Then we'll also be doing talkbacks once we get the shows running over the course of the last 2 weeks, where people will have an opportunity to engage with the creative team for each individual play. We're not sure yet if that's going to be sort of this kind of Zoom format where people will be able to directly interact, or if it'll be more sort of social media based, Facebook questions through comments. But that interactive element is certainly important, and that's the one that we're still trying to figure out the best way to build that will facilitate the most productive and successful dialogue.
Brent, Sarah. Sorry.
It looks like Steve has a question. Sarah, I'll go to you next.
Thanks, Michelle. Sorry to interrupt. Brent or anybody, I know it's an uncomfortable question, but when do you envision being able to open up live theater again?
Yeah, anybody's guess at this point, honestly. We Actors Equity Association has they're being incredibly diligent about protecting the health and safety of their members. So it's really kind of their call right now. They have a very strict set of conditions that have to be met. Milwaukee has not currently met those conditions in terms of the overall control of the pandemic. Numbers have to be in decline at a certain level for a certain period of time. So it's definitely an unknown right now. We are in an interesting place at Chamber. We're a 45-year-old company. The largest of the small professional theater is the formal name of the contract here in Milwaukee. But we don't have any cash reserves to fall back on. So the only way that we survive is by earning. The only way we earn is by fulfilling our mission. So we have to figure out right now how we can still fulfill our mission in this pandemic space. So we're looking as much as we can at virtual offerings, not only this festival, but looking at the next 2 shows in our subscription season, the way she spoke in the Thanksgiving play, to figure out how we can gather actors together safely so that we can actually rehearse the play, put up a production on stage, and film that production, a sort of high quality 3-camera shoot, and offer that to not only our subscribers, but also our single ticket buyers. Hopefully, most of the industry right now is operating under assumption that early next year we'll be able to start inviting audiences back into theaters, still probably at very reduced rates and very socially distant to very small cast plays. but that's sort of what everybody right now is at least basing their seasons around. So we're sort of looking at a virtual first half of our 2021 season, and then ideally, if everything goes right, start to move towards in-person performances for the second half of the season.
Sarah, did you want to ask your question?
Yes, Brent, good to see you again. When we initially talked about this project a couple of weeks ago with Mary McCormick down at Collectiva, one of the things that I was really inspired by was you talking about what success looks while Milwaukee Chamber is really spearheading this now. That one of the elements, I believe, of success that you identified was that MCT would be taking a different role, hopefully, in the future, that you would have others. I wonder if you would talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, we're certainly aware that as a primarily white institution that is working to include more voices in its internal conversation as quickly as we possibly can, that we are likely not ideally the best long-term home to be sort of the financial pay-through for something called the Milwaukee Black Theater Festival, right? We certainly hope to continue a deep and long partnership and participantship with this festival, assuming that we also meet those criteria, right? We don't get some sort of free pass to participate. We have to do the work too. But in the future, ideally, the festival itself, the two notions we're playing with right now are either that it is a standalone entity, spearheaded exclusively by Black artists, who not only are in charge of the curation, but also control all of the way the money flows in and out of the thing, or that it is actually a more decentralized network of an association of theater companies that is headed by sort of one designated representative from each of those companies who would be a Black individual, but that in that context, it serves more as a marketing or messaging umbrella for all of these other companies producing Black-centered work simultaneously, which is, I think, an exciting place to get to as soon as we can, and we figure it out from there. But the world is changing so quickly that it's hard to really fix on any of those long-term plans. And I think for all of us, the most important thing is to make sure that that there is a year two, right? That it is stable and secure, and we're laying that strong foundation. And if that means that Chamber is the lead producing partner on it again next season, great, so be it. We certainly welcome the honor and the responsibility of that. But it's just making sure that whatever the structure is suiting the artistic content and the voices that need to be centered in the process to the fullest degree that it possibly can. And that's been very much an ongoing conversation among the leadership team and the curation committee. We almost jumped to like what does year 3 look like before we even figured out what year 1 was. So it's definitely on everybody's mind to make sure that the structure we build around it really serves the central impulse as well as we can. How long are each of the shows? So the readings themselves are each 90 minutes, and we hope that we'll have about another 60 to 90 minutes of content around each of those readings behind the paywall. So all told, the sort of overall festival content will be anywhere between 7 and about 9 hours, which is also why we want to make sure that everybody has a week to watch it. That's a heck of a binge to get through that much stuff in a day. But we also, because a lot of this content does ask for deep reflection and ask you to sit with it a little bit and consider it a little bit, we also want to make sure that we're not, in the time that we're offering people to explore it, just asking them to sort of blow through it as quickly as they can. Because letting it sit and letting it resonate is also a really, really key component of the material that's being offered.
Okay, are there any other questions from the group? Well, if not, we really thank you both. And, you know, one of the things that I personally admire is the people who not only have dreams, but really have the courage to follow them and have the wherewithal to make them happen. Because I think all three are really required for success. And so I really admire you both and your partners for, conceiving it and pursuing it and making it happen. So we really appreciate that as a community.
Thank you. And thanks again for your support and partnership. It's really crucial at this early stage of the game.
Thank you for hosting us.
Oh, it's great. And this will also, if Mary did not tell you or we haven't filled you in, this will also be on YouTube later this afternoon, I believe. So if you have others who you think would be interested in seeing your presentation or other funders that you want to forward the link to, feel free. And a lot of our members hop in on the YouTube